The heart of Berlin targeted, reads the sign outside Kaiser Wilhelm Church, where the bells rang for the first time since the Second World War earlier. A vigil taking place, 12 killed as a truck rammed through security gates and into a crowded Christmas market. The rampage, which bears the hallmarks of the Bastille Day attack in Nice that left 86 dead, follows warnings that Christmas-related events could be targeted by militants. An initial suspect has now been released due to insufficient evidence. This after speculation over his eventual radical link. Hardliners quick to question the government's asylum policy in the wake of the attack. That suspect was Pakistani. We'll ask just how much policy in Germany has already shifted since the picture of a 3-year-old boy washing up on a Turkish beach prompted Angela Merkel to open the door to Syrians back in the summer of 2015. The Chancellor, like the citizens of Germany who may re-elect her for a 4th time next year, displaying ambivalence. They are proactive when it comes to new arrivals, going to great pains to teach them German, to integrate them, but wary of being overwhelmed, ambivalent also when it comes to using Germany's military might against havens for jihadis in places like Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq. It's time like these that test the resolve of Germany and of Europe. Today in the France 24 debate, what response to the Berlin attacks? With us from Frankfurt, journalist and commentator Roland Tichy, president of the Ludwig Erhard Stiftung think tank. Thank you for being with us again here.
Yes, great to see you.
From Husum in northern Germany, Alexander Ritzman, executive director of the European Foundation for Democracy. Welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Shoshana Fine, research associate with the French Political Science Institute, Sciences Po, looking at refugee policy. Thank you for being with us. And from Antwerp, security consultant Ricardo Boretsky of the European Center for Information Policy and Security. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag F24debate. The authorities earlier identifying a Pakistani man, now releasing him. They were quick to say that the dangerous criminal they're looking for may still be at large. Earlier, Angela Merkel touring the scene where it all happened. The chief of police who said that the man was certainly not the driver. For more, let's cross to Berlin and correspondent Emmanuel Chaz. Emmanuel, first of all, describe the atmosphere where that vigil is taking place now.
Yeah, well, it's been a really confusing day here in Berlin. First, we thought the police had announced a swift operation. The driver was supposed to have been arrested. He was under interrogation. Now he has been released for lack of sufficient proof. The police no longer knows whether he is a suspect or not. So, can you still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so it's been a really confusing day for the authorities as well as for Berliners themselves. Obviously, it's a city under shock. Berliners were in shock in the sense that they were expecting something to happen at some point, but they didn't know when exactly an attack will happen on the ground.
They didn't know when an attack will happen on the ground. What we know from now is that whoever perpetrated the attack and killed the 37-year-old driver of the vehicle, a Polish truck driver, has gotten away.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, there's someone on the loose here in Berlin and or in Germany, and the police has literally no idea or doesn't communicate this information to the public. So we still don't know who committed this murder, and maybe not. We don't know either who the driver of that truck was.
Emmanuel, we're seeing live images of the Brandenburg Gate lit up in the colors of Berlin, targeting a Christmas market. A Christmas market is, of course, something you associate with Germany at this time of year.
It's highly symbolic, and it's also symbolic in the sense that the attack happened at a very particular place of Berlin. It's the Gedächtniskirche, the Remembrance Church, which had been destroyed during World War I, and which stands again as a remembrance of Germany's suffering at the end of the war. And seeing those sufferings happening again and targeting Berlin is particularly hard on German people tonight.
But the Christmas markets are going to stay open throughout the country.
Yes, today they were closed as a sign of condolences for what happened yesterday at this particular Christmas market. Another very famous Christmas market in Berlin had opened today just for an hour, but the authorities decided to close it again. Berlin Chief Police announced extra security measures to surround those Christmas markets, such as armed policemen at the entrances. But then German people would ask, why weren't these measures taken earlier on?
Many thanks for that. MEGUERDITCHIAN reporting live there from the scene in Berlin. Roland Tichy, let's begin by asking you the fact that they've decided we're going to keep the Christmas markets open. What's your reaction to that?
Well, this is clear. We should not stop our way of living by any attack. I just come from the Christmas market in Frankfurt, which is very crowded as it was the last days. But everybody has a bad feeling because attacking the Christmas market was thought to be possible since years, and last week they stopped a 13-year-old boy, imagine, 13-year-old, who was supposed to try to bomb the Christmas market in Ludwigshafen, Mannheim. So it was not really a surprise. The surprise is first that the Christmas market in Berlin was not better checked, that other than in Nice, the truck was not stopped by police. Third, then that the terrorists could escape, and we still do not know, do not have any official idea right now who had done this. And this means that murderers with their weapons are underway, open in the streets of Berlin or anywhere. So this is really a confusing situation in Germany.
What was the security like at the Christmas market you saw in Frankfurt, Roland?
Well, the Christmas markets in Frankfurt are even greater, bigger, but at the entrances there are security guards standing. I do not know if they would succeed in stopping a truck crashing into them, but they try. But the question is really, as we discussed since years, what do we do with Christmas market where many people in many cities try to join with their families having fun, and this could happen. I mean, the Oktoberfest in Munich was fenced in. The coming New Eve's festivals are fenced in the big cities and are controlled by heavy police. Why has this not been done in Berlin? Why has the killer truck driver has not been stopped? How was it possible that the Polish truck driver was killed? He is number 13. They just count bodies now and have no idea.
Alexander Ritzman, do you share Roland Tichy's concerns?
Well, I live in Berlin. I've been to this market that was attacked and many others over the years. It really depends on the market, on how to protect it. If you want to protect it against massively loaded, fast-moving trucks, that's of course specifically difficult. There are some measures that can be taken, infrastructure, some building arrangements. It is possible to reduce the risk, of course. If the Christmas markets would be safe from being attacked by car, terrorists would find other means to attack them. So we have to be more proactive in addressing the radicalization process, the reasons why people become violent for whatever cause it is they are pursuing. We don't know yet what's really behind this attack. We need to wait for all the facts to make final assessments. But it is clear to me that just calling for more police, more intelligence, or more military budgets will not fix the problem. Civil society needs to be empowered. NGOs that can reach out to vulnerable communities, vulnerable individuals, who can also be early warning detectors that cooperate with officials. So we cannot really fix this security threat with only hard measures, with steel and concrete and police and military. We need to focus on being more preventive by empowering the good guys and by increasing the resilience of vulnerable
Alexander,
communities.
that's a long-term prospect. Do you agree with Roland Tichy that in the short term, we've seen, he's talking about the fencing in of New Year's festivities in Germany. The same should be done for Christmas markets.
It might have an effect. A fence will not stop the truck loaded with steel like the one that was used. The attacked Christmas market is specifically vulnerable because it is surrounded by 2 streets. So you would probably have to move the Christmas market to another place. But then again, Berlin has 100 Christmas markets over the month of December. So it is true that some of the prevention work is long-term, but if we look back, Islamic terrorism, if that is the case here, Islamist terrorism is not new. We've had attacks, thwarted, failed, and some successful since after 2001. We've had right-wing extremism and terrorism, left-wing extremism and terrorism in the 70s, 80s, 90s. This is not a new phenomenon. So if we always say, well, prevention is a long-term thing, let's invest in hard security, we will never reduce really the phenomenon of violent extremism.
Ricardo Beretsky, do you agree?
Well, just give me one word. I would like to say one word. I'm not the one who wants
has to be looked at.
Hold on, sorry, Ricardo, just one second.
First of all,
one second. Ricardo, let me first. Roland Tichy, very briefly, just to respond to that one point.
Well, I do not want to fence a country in, but just giving a long-term perspective does not help the people who are under attack right now.
All right, Ricardo Beretsky, your thoughts on this in terms of do you basically fence in all kinds of public events now?
Well, some of the things that I've just heard, I would certainly agree with. But there's a lot of factors at play. First of all, that the security management in public spaces is a problem. This has been a proven fact over the last 2 years. So that is already a problem. The second way is that they have still not understood that they're dealing with a different form of terrorism. The terrorism they're dealing with is fairly new to the arena. And then the third factor that they have to really begin to understand is that this is not only about sharing information or intelligence or putting up brigades to stop the terrorists from certain areas. There's a lot more at stake in managing these public spaces and managing terrorism as a threat. The war on terror is not just a war on terror. It's becoming more like a terror on war. And the management of fighting this war on terror is where the real problem lays, in understanding that this threat is a threat multiple levels and multiple layers, which is clearly shown in the past 2 years.
So you're saying there should be more intelligence sharing. Shoshana Fine, your thoughts on we're discussing really what could be the new normal, right, for Europe?
Yeah, I think the response that we've seen across European countries is primarily a security response. And I think, like the other speaker mentioned, I think we have to be very wary about this because what is going on right now are these security practices ending up marginalizing Muslims. So these are hardline security practices, but also, I'm afraid to say, often civil society, education. For instance, what we can see in Britain right now is the use of PREVENT, which is a government program to prevent radicalization. And unfortunately, what we can see is a real manipulation of a lot of civil society initiatives to basically end up surveying on the Muslim population. So I think we really need to be careful about this security response to attacks like this and the effects they're having on the Muslim population, and how this actually might itself produce radicalization. So it could really be doing quite the opposite.
The German chancellor earlier, when that Pakistani suspect was in custody before he was released for lack of evidence, reacting, saying we don't want to live in fear. This is what Angela Merkel had to say.
I know it would be especially hard for us all to bear if it were confirmed that the person who committed this act was someone who sought protection and asylum in Germany. This would be especially despicable for the many, many Germans who day in, day out are actively working for refugees, as well as for those people who actually need our protection and who make an effort to integrate into our country.
Ron Tishy, do you agree with the Chancellor?
Well, I did hear the Chancellor, but I think and I feel a growing majority of, or not a majority, a growing number of Germans give her the responsible right or no for this policy, for the no border, no ceiling policy of migration.
Which she's backtracked on now.
Pardon me?
Which now she's backtracked on.
Well, after the convention, people thought that she could win the election, but I think it is not a done deal. Polls gave her last week 36%, which is enough to be re-elected as chancellor. But things can change, and this is one of the things which change history.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of what we've just touched on, which is, will the attack in Berlin result in the stigmatization of asylum seekers, in particular Shoshana Feimer saying of Muslims? Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.